I'm way less interesting. But
What can you say about this conference? 2 years in now, what is it about it that you've realized or understood?
Well, I think a couple things. One is there's such not only a high level of coaching across all 18 teams, but such a varied level of or different styles of play. And what I really love about that is it prepares you so well for the NCAA tournament. Like, if we see a pressure team that presses, I'm like, oh, we've done that. Ohio State does that. Maryland does that. These teams that can really grind it out in the half court and execute and anchors on their defense. We saw a great example of that tonight in Minnesota. So, I could go on and on about that, but I have really been challenged as a coach to make better game adjustments, to learn from the first time, and then what if we meet them in the tournament? And, I just think when you only play almost everybody once, it really forces you to be a really good learner as a coach of what that particular matchup taught you, and then quickly apply those things to the next opponent, but also down the road. I just am so impressed with the depth. I'm also really impressed with the leadership, quite frankly. Megan Kahn and Commissioner Petiti they've just done a great job, I think, elevating and bringing exposure to women's basketball, really committing to it at a high level, and I think that's why you're seeing the success. If you don't see that commitment from the conference, you're not going to see this level of depth, as well as exposure, as well as people committing to rev share and NIL. All those things fit together if you're going to build a national prominent best women's basketball conference in the country. It starts at the top.
Coach, realistically, you have 4 girls that could have entered the WNBA draft last year, and 4 girls who would be first-round picks in this year's WNBA draft, and that are as seniors. Talk about how special of a group this is of seniors, because they not only how talented they are, but they chose to come back for 1 year together.
Actually, there's projections of all 6 of our seniors being drafted. I would say that's a very, very high likelihood, and 5 or 6 in the first round. That's never been done from one school in one class. And so, honestly, I sort of spend time just getting my heart and mind right before every game. And one of the things that I tell myself is be present, enjoy the moments with these kids. And it's not just that they're really good. They're incredibly hardworking. They're willing to be selfless. They're a joy to be around. They enjoy each other's company. It doesn't mean it's easy all the time, but the reality is that this is just a special group, and I'm a really lucky coach to be able to be a part of their lives.
Cori, what would you say? You mentioned adjustments. In your last answer, what would you say was the most important kind of adjustment to make to beat Minnesota today?
Well, I thought in the second half we had to turn the ball over less. I think we had 10 turnovers at the half. We still ended up with 17, but they weren't as many live ball turnovers. They came allowing us to set our defense, but that's the thing I'm most disappointed in right now. But I thought we had to just more consistently get Kiki involved in ball screens. It was very evident she was having a night, and if we could get shoulder to shoulder but we wanted to do it in different ways. So we would run roll and rise out of one set. We would come back and do it in a different way. But we just wanted to try to get their 5s, as she referred to, in ball screen action. And then it was just really obvious I needed to get out of Kiki's way.
Minnesota didn't get to the line until the fourth quarter. How important was that for your team?
Well, I think it's that both teams were really physical. I was talking to one of the officials about how hard it is, because when we play certain teams like Texas, if you watch the film of our Texas game and watch how that was called, and then you go and watch how our Ohio State game, just for instance, and then both of these games on the road to Nebraska and here, I just think we're still growing into consistency. And I think it was just as difficult for us as it was for them. I think it's hard. I do think that, the way we spread the floor and the rotations that Lauren puts you in, it's really difficult. But it's just I can't control that. I think both of us would probably love some different calls, Dawn and myself. But these refs are working really hard to grow our game and to help the Big Ten be really, really good and consistent. I really trust the intentions of everybody. But I do think as we grow as a sport, I think the consistency of officiating across, especially Power 4 games, I think we can continue to grow in that area.
If you flip back a few years, did you see this group developing the way it did, staying together the way it did.
Yeah, I did, and I've had some opportunities to possibly go to the pros and do some other things, and they were a big pull because I knew that they could be something special, and it's my joy and my humble opportunity just to be a part of their experience and to watch them grow. And I had the amazing they're really motivated basketball players, but as my mentor Coach Wooden used to say is, remember, Cori, though, in all of this, and you can talk about Final Fours and championships and all that, but remember, you're coaching people's hearts, not their jump shots. But he also says, hey, if you coach their hearts really well, usually their jump shots end up pretty good too. And so in the midst of us really pursuing a level of excellence that UCLA has never experienced, and I want to have a relentless quest for that excellence, but always keeping in mind that I'm a transformational coach and I'm committed to coaching their hearts.
You mentioned the turnovers a little bit ago. Just what kind of was it about the Gophers defense and really through the first 3 quarters that kind of disrupted?
Yeah, I think they're connected. And so, when we would draw 2 or we would draw the double teams and force rotations, I think they're just really active out of their peel switches or helping recovers. And I think they're really disciplined, and credit to them in that. I think some of ours are self-inflicted. I think we have to grow in our urgency and toughness, and I think that's something we got to control, but I definitely don't want to take anything away from the toughness and connectivity. But I think consistency, discipline, and connectivity is what I would say about Minnesota's defense. And, I think Dawn's shown that her whole entire career. I think she's excellent. I actually went to a high school game yesterday here in Minnesota, and that particular high school coach was talking about how good and how much he's learned from Minnesota's defense. So just credit to them, and I think, too, I sort of feel I want to give a shout out to Gianna Neepkins. Minnesota kid from Duluth, lots of people here. Didn't play her best basketball tonight, but we would not be in the position we're in right now if she hadn't chosen to join our program. And she has been so impactful in how she plays and her abilities on the court, but also in how the chemistry she's created off the court with our players. And I wish that her first time playing back home would have had more individual things, but I just want to give her a shout out that we love that Minnesota has shared Gianna Neepkins with us, because we think she is incredibly special. Amazing family, incredible player. I'll tell you, I'd have a dream to have both of those guys, Lauren and Gianna, playing in the Lynx. So how awesome would that be? But I just really want to say how thankful I am for the people that have poured into her life and her game, because our team is different because Gianna Neepkins is on it.
Kind of along that same line, I'm curious, what have you seen out of Minnesota women's basketball? Obviously a lot of talent
So
coming
much
through,
talent.
but just what's kind of your impression as being an out-of-state recruiter?
Yeah, I just want them to come to Sunshine more. I can't get them out of here. I think the reality is that the high school coaches, the AAU coaches, the grassroots, it's just the fundamental kids that here, and there's a passion. I really credit the state for getting behind women's basketball and girls basketball before it was popular to do so. And they sort of led the charge in that. And so I've been watching, whether it be, Minnesota North Tartan, or there's so many different Minnesota Fury. There's all kinds of things, and obviously I've been to the Hopkins, and I've been all over the place. You always get in trouble when you start naming names because you leave people out. But the reality is I've been coming here for a long time to recruit kids, and Gianna, I think, is our first one, at least since I've been here at UCLA, and we're really lucky to have her. But my goodness, Minnesota produces great girls and women's basketball players, and this state should be really proud of what they've done. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
We've got plenty of sunshine.